Today, the 26th of March 2022, is Saturday of the third week of Lent. We reflect together today on the theme, He is close to the humble of heart. You probably have heard it said repeatedly since we started the season of Lent that there are three practices, pillars of Lent as they are called, that are essential if one is to reap the full benefits of the season. These are prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. Given that anyone who engages in these practices is sure to gain graces and self-purification, it is reasonable to expect that those who desire righteous living would make efforts to practice them. However, as the saying goes, it is not enough to do the right things. The right things must be done in the right way. In the parable told by Jesus in the Gospel passage that we read today from Luke chapter 18, there is no doubt that the Pharisee did the right things as expected of him. His utterances were in the context of prayer in which he thanked God for his own righteous way of living. So he prayed. According to him, he was not like other people who were extortionists, unjust, and adulterous. So he was righteous. He fasted twice a week, and so he fulfilled what the Lord required of him. Besides, he gave his tithes as required from his gross income, and so he qualified to be called charitable. Simply put, he did the right things, he prayed, fasted, and gave up. Yet, there are two major flaws that the Pharisee had. First, the Pharisee was a proud person who was convinced that his good deeds were products of his personal righteousness. He believed that his own personal efforts were the reason for his self-acclaimed righteousness. Unlike Philip Neri, who would say, "There goes Philip for the grace of God," when he saw a sinner, the Pharisee did not recognize the grace of God at work in him. Rather, he attributed it to personal merits. Second, having exalted himself, he looked down with scorn and contempt at the tax collector. He denounced and condemned him as a sinner. These two major flaws ensured that the Pharisee left the temple a worse person than he came. The tax collector, on the other hand, could not mention anything that he had done right. All he could do was to acknowledge his guilt with all humility and remorse. He did not dare to look up at all as a sign of his deep contrition. All he could do was to stand at some distance from the sanctuary where God resides and plead for mercy. His plea for mercy was answered because of his humble, contrite admission of guilt and dependence on the grace and power of God to be forgiven and be converted. He was justified and had his relationship with God restored. My dear friends, there could be a bit of both personalities in each of us. Like the Pharisee, there is the tendency to measure our righteousness on the basis of other people's perceived sins. We do judge and condemn others sometimes, simply because we do not commit the particular sins that they may have committed. But does that give us the right to judge, especially as we probably commit other sins ourselves? We sometimes attribute our good deed to our own ability, talent, or effort, forgetting that without the grace of God at work in us, we can achieve little or nothing. There is a Pharisee in us also. However, we may at times be like the tax collector. Like him, we struggle with various sins: greed, dishonesty, sexual immorality, anger, jealousy, stealing, keeping malice, violent conduct, and the like. The virtue of humility and contrition of heart are presented to us today as pathways, not only to obtaining the mercy of God, but also as ways of making a resolution not to offend God again and to amend our lives. I bless you today as you begin it, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.